and app sponsor Otter from AI Sense. And also the event sponsor ZIB Technologies, Intelligent Companionship for Happy Growth, and BizKey, Eton Power, GSAE, Bitmart, Quackchain, Umining, DA, Amanino, Maximlore, GL. Well, I would like to give a big thank you to all the media friends out there. So ladies and gentlemen, let's give a big round of applause for all of them. And also before we forget, have you ever felt tired of taking notes from conferences? Well, that's why we call SBIF one of the most intelligent summits. If you scan the QR code out there, you could download the app OTA.ai, created by AI Sense. Now, this app could help you take notes from any meeting and share the transcript in real time. So you could really smartly recognize different speakers and label their names separately. Have a try and tell me whether you like it or not. Okay, so SBIF has selected Otter as an exclusive voice app to provide live transcription for all the keynotes and panels. And also, I know that we are all connected in a way that LinkedIn is also the exclusive social media partner for SBIF. And if you hashtag 2018 SBIF, you can join the live conversation on LinkedIn right now. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's kick off the forum. Now, many of you may know that Congresswoman Judy Chu is an old friend of SBIF, and she's also the honorable chairwoman of SBIF and a big supporter of innovation. Now, Judy attended SBIF almost every year.
Oh, yes.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Judy Chu.
Thank you once again for all you are doing to encourage entrepreneurialism and to bring the next great ideas to life.
Well, thank you so much for having me here at this wonderful conference that now is in its 8th year, the Silicon Valley Innovation and Entrepreneurship Forum. As the honorary chair, it is so wonderful to be able to welcome you to this great event. In fact, I have been invited for 8 years to this event, and I have come all 8 times, and I have been proud to see how much growth there has been in this forum. Now I understand you have 4,000 people attending, and it just shows that you are fulfilling a great need out there in the Silicon Valley, if not the nation. The great thing about what you're doing is you are bringing attention to the transformative role of new technology. And that's one of the reasons why I have been a long supporter of this effort. Entrepreneurism drives us forward. And so I want to make sure that we're able to help the next engineer or business person through programs that will make them successful, and especially in programs that provide access to care by providing conditional residency in the U.S. for those from abroad who make investments in new businesses that create jobs. And the investment is $1 million or $500,000 in high-need areas. It has been a successful program for certain projects, but it is not perfect. I think that we should continue this program and that we should be able to reform it, but it needs to be reauthorized. And instead of taking serious action, Congress simply extended this program until December as part of a continuing resolution just this week. So far, debates on extending the EB-5 program have revolved around disagreements on how to reform it. But I do believe that with those reforms, that we can make sure that more projects can have the access to capital that they need to be able to advance the economy of America and also benefit those from foreign countries and from China. In the meanwhile, on the domestic front, I am on the House Small Business Committee, and I'm very pleased to report that my bill, which would increase access to capital for startups, did pass out of the House. We know that 70% of small businesses are turned away by banks for conventional loans, and this is particularly difficult for startups. So that is why the Small Business Administration decided to start the Small Business Investment Companies Programs, or SBIC. And it is an investment program for those kind of businesses that would not otherwise have necessarily the track record that would allow them to get a conventional loan. And the SBA guarantees the funds of anybody who invests in such programs. As a result, it has been able to bring forth some incredible companies. In fact, it was in 1978 when an SBIC bank awarded $500,000 to a small computer startup, an investment that might have been risky at some other time. But with that $500,000, Apple Computers became what it is now, and of course is worth over $1 trillion. And Tesla actually benefited from this company as well. But the company was restricted in the amount of funds that it could get from banks and from federal savings associations. My bill lifts the cap in how much these institutions can invest. Thank goodness this bill has now passed out of the House and is awaiting some action by the Senate. And after that, we will have more monies available for startup businesses. Let me also say that the situation in Washington, D.C. with regard to U.S.-China relations is at a very difficult point right now. I think that U.S. and China have had positive economic relationships for years, and I would like to see that relationship continue. I am a member of the Powerful Ways and Means Committee, in whose jurisdiction is the issue of trade. I have spoken out in the committee to protest the lack of coherent strategy in the tariffs that President Trump has levied against China, first $50 billion and now $200 billion. But I think it only will result in hurting jobs in America. In fact, I have an example in my district. I have a company called iRobot. It makes the robot vacuum cleaner, the Roomba, and it employs 675 Americans. But though the engineers and scientists who developed it are here, the Roomba itself is produced in China, which means that they will now have to pay a 25% tariff when they import their product for sale in the US. That to me is not a smart policy, and that's why I will continue to press to make sure that we have a fair trade policy that will improve relations between the US and China. Thank you. I am also extremely concerned about the targeting of Chinese scientists and engineers and students as being spies for China. For many decades, Chinese American scientists, engineers, and students have contributed so much to America. But now we have a president that is actually saying that all Chinese students are spies for China. Of course, we know this is a horrible stereotype. This is not true, and this is a hysterical thing that can hurt so many people's lives. And in fact, just recently, there was a bill that was a must-pass bill called the National Defense Authorization Act, and Republican Congressmember Gallagher put in 2 amendments that would have cast suspicion on Chinese American professors in our universities and another amendment that would have said that all Chinese students should be under surveillance for just being in America. And so I rushed down to the floor to stop these amendments, and as a result of my actions, those amendments were stripped out of the bill. So yes, we are safe from that. So I want to guarantee to you that I will take vigilant action against these kinds of efforts. We should not cast aspersions on entire groups of people and cast them as something other than what they are, other than contributors to America. So let us work together and let us make sure that we have a productive relationship between the US and China, and let us make sure that all our entrepreneurs can be as successful as they can be. Thank you, and I would like to present certificates of congressional recognition to the leaders of today's event. If I could bring up Vice President Wei Zhang of the Silicon Valley Innovation and Entrepreneurship Forum, and also founding partner, Dr. Anja Gu of DHVC. Please come forward and accept these certificates of congressional recognition for your contributions to this event.
Let's invite Judy and Andrew and wait, back to the stage to take a picture. Okay, congratulations. Okay, nice smile. And Judy, I must say that you are our hero. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, such a nice event. Now, please join me in welcoming Mr. Wang Donghua, Consul General of People's Republic of China in San Francisco. Welcome, Consul General Wang.
Thank you very much. I will try to make my remarks in Chinese because the Chinese version is shorter than the English one. I know the time is valuable to everybody. I don't want to prolong my remarks. 尊敬的赵美熙国会议员，尊敬的硅谷高创会雷洪主席，尊敬的各位来宾、各位朋友。 尊敬的媒体朋友们、女士们、先生们，大家下午好。我和我的总领馆的同事很高兴，在这金秋9月的美好时光，应邀来到硅谷，出席2018年的硅谷高创会。 在此，我谨代表中国驻旧金山总领事馆对本次活动的举办表示热烈的祝贺，向参与本次活动的嘉宾致以亲切的问候和良好的祝愿，向长期以来积极推动中美创新创业领域交流合作的硅谷各界朋友表示衷心的感谢。自2011年起，硅谷高创会连续举办7届，为创业者、投资人、企业家及其他行业的精英人士提供深度交流、精彩展示以及商业合作的平台，以发展成为硅谷地区具有广泛影响力的创新创业活动平台。同时，硅谷高创会努力营造充满活力的中美创新创业合作氛围，到成都、北京等中国的城市组织举办创新创业论坛，让中国的企业家、创业者更多的了解硅谷，有力推动了双方在互利共赢基础上交流合作。我们对此表示高度的赞赏。朋友们，当前中美关系面临波折，大家都很关心中美之间的贸易摩擦问题。我也愿借这个机会和大家分享一下我个人的看法。中美两国由于发展阶段的不同，处在全球价值链的不同位置。双方在长期的经贸合作中，基于比较优势和市场选择，形成了结构高度互补、利益深度交融的互利共赢的关系。中国的发展毫无疑问得益于加强同美国的合作，同样也为美国的发展、就业做出了巨大贡献。例如，美国不少产品在硅谷等地研发设计，
developed in Silicon Valley and other places here, but in China, Chinese companies manufacture them, and Chinese companies only earn a small amount of processing fees, while American companies have gained more from design, technology licensing, and marketing. So although the trade surplus between China and the United States seems to be on the Chinese side, but in fact, the interest or profit surplus is on the US side. The launch of a trade war against China on the grounds of trade deficit, actually we know the reason. Because in China, we are not looking for trade surplus, and at the moment, we are trying our best to solve trade issues, to solve those trade deficits with other countries. If a trade war is launched, the actual trade deficit will not only solve the trade deficit issue from Americans' perspective, but will actually damage
也会冲击和破坏全球产业链和价值链。中美合作，包括创新创业领域的合作，从来都不是只有一方受益的单行线，而是坚持走互利共赢的双车道。因为一方受益，另一方的买卖，从一开始就不可能做成。多年来，正是沿着硅谷与中国各地的合作，才越来越紧密，越来越富有成效。
forges closer relationship between Chinese and Silicon Valley companies. A lot of Silicon Valley companies have invested in China and built their manufacturing and research centers. They are making best use of Chinese resources and also supportive policies to make themselves bigger and larger. And we sincerely hope that Chinese companies and investments can also enjoy fair investment and development environment in the Silicon Valley.
也会对硅谷的创新创业起到积极的推动作用，为当地发展做出更大的贡献。 近年来，中国大力实施创新驱动发展战略，
Innovation
创新创业
strategies
的环境
and the
日趋
environment
完
for
善。
innovation and
北
entrepreneurship
京、
are
深圳、
improving
杭州
every
等
day.
地和硅
Cities
谷
like
一样，
Beijing, Shenzhen,
创新
Hangzhou
创业
are
蓬
similar
勃
to
发展。
Silicon Valley with a
就
lot
在
of
3
lively
年前，
entrepreneurs
中国
starting
政
their
府
own
发布了
companies. Just 3 days
关于
ago, the
推动
Chinese
创
government
新创
has
业高质量
issued
发展，
opinions
打
on
造
promoting
双
high
创升
quality
级的
development
的
and
意
creating
见，
an upgraded version of
出台
innovation
了一
and
系列新
entrepreneurship
举措，
with a lot of
大
follow-up
幅降低创
policies
新创业
to
成本，
reduce
进一步优
entrepreneurship.
化创新创业的环境。我们期待硅谷的投资人、创业者和企业家能够抓住中国双创升级的新机遇，利用好中国广阔的市场资源和独特的产业配套优势，与中方的合作伙伴更
Infrastructure
好实现
to
互利
better
共赢
promote a mutual
共同发展。
beneficial situation and
下
develop
一步，
together.
中国
Going
改革开放
forward,
的大门
the door to China's reform and
关闭
opening up will not be
而且会
closed, but will
越开越
actually
大。
open wider.
我们将
We
坚
will
定不
firmly
移地依法
protect
保护
intellectual property rights
和外商在华
and the
合法
legitimate
权益，
rights and interests of foreign
促进中
businesses
美
in
创
China
新创业同类区
and
的
promote
互利共
mutually
赢合作。
beneficial and win-win cooperation in
中
the
国
fields
驻
of
旧金山
innovation
总领
and
事馆
entrepreneurship
愿
between the two
一如
countries.
既往
The
地
Chinese
与
Consulate
硅谷
General
各
in
界
San
朋友
Francisco
一
is
道，
willing to work
共
together
同
with
努力，
friends from all walks
将
of
创
life
新
in
创业
Silicon Valley to
打
make
造成中美地
innovation
方
and
合作的
entrepreneurship
新亮
a
点，
new bright spot
促
for
进
U.S.
互利双赢，
Sino local
共同繁
cooperation
荣，
and
为
promote
中美
mutual
关系
benefits
健
and
康
common
稳定发
prosperity
展
add
增
new
添新内
content
容，
and
注入
injection
新
to
活
the
力，
healthy and
谱写
stable
新篇
development
章。
of Sino-US
最后
relations.
祝
Lastly,
2018
I
硅
would
谷高
like
创会
to
取得
wish
圆满成功。
SBIEF
谢谢大家。
2018 a big success. Thank you so much.
非常感谢王领事的发言。Thank you so much for Consul General for your insightful speech. Now, ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker really doesn't need any introduction. He's a Silicon Valley legend. Not only did he successfully invest in Hotmail, Skype, Baidu in the early days, he's also a firm backer of Bitcoin and blockchain. Well, many of you might still remember about 4 years ago, in 3 years, and he was right. And now, even in the current seemingly bearish market, he still holds a bullish prediction that Bitcoin will hit $250,000 in 2022. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Tim Draper, founder of Draper Associates, DFJ, and Draper University. Welcome, Tim.
Hello. Oh, good. It works. It is a great honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me, SVIEF. You guys have been really instrumental in bringing Chinese investors here, bringing U.S. investors to China, bringing entrepreneurs globally. SVIEF is a really great organization. And I think now you are needed more than ever because of this weird trade war that's going on between the U.S. and China. I mean, I kind of predicted it would happen about 20 years ago, but I keep thinking, why are we doing this? We are so much better off, both of us, both countries are so much better off if we just open the borders and let all of the information flow back and forth, let the products back and forth. Both countries will be so much wealthier. You know, I was actually the first Silicon Valley in venture investor to invest in Chinese companies. And it was great because I was all alone then, and we backed Baidu and Focus Media and Kongjong and some billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar unicorns. And I was the biggest proponent of investing in China, and I was saying, go invest in China. And all of a sudden, I'm trapped because I've got a lot of investments in China. I cannot get my money out of China. So that what's that about? so I can't get my money out, so I can't put money back in. So we've frozen all investment into entrepreneurs in China. So if you're a Chinese entrepreneur, you got to come here to get Draper Associates money. I want to be able to invest in China again. Please tell President Xi that we need to be able to freely invest in China and get our money out. And all of these weird regulations and currency controls, they're just killing both countries. So let's, I don't know. I'll see if we can talk to Trump. You see if you can talk to Xi. Let's see if we can make this happen. Anyway, so okay. So the other people I want to thank is Otter. This is great. Sam Leong, here he is. He created the software that's building this, and I backed him before. And now I backed him again with Otter, and somehow he got the SVIEF guys to use the system. But by the way, I use it with everything I say. He'll go back and he'll reread and he'll look it over. But this is an amazing software package. So with that, let's go on to Bitcoin and all the associated technologies around Bitcoin. This world has completely opened up. We have all these things that have happened from the internet, where communications and information, gaming, and all those industries have been transformed, and geographic borders fell, and so those were big industries. Those were all big industries, and we benefited from all those clever entrepreneurs who created great businesses around that new technology, around the internet. Well, I believe that now we have something bigger than the internet. Bitcoin and all the associated technologies with Bitcoin, I believe, are going to transform industries that are far larger than communications and information and gaming and entertainment. We're going to transform finance and commerce and insurance and healthcare. And I believe that we're going to transform government. And here's my thinking. For one thing, I've noticed governments are now competing for you. Because if you don't like what one government is doing, you can move to another place. But eventually, I believe that this is going to be, the government is going to be part land-based and part virtual. This virtual government can change everything. Because I could potentially get all my insurance, healthcare insurance, my pension, my social security, my welfare, all from any government in the world. In fact, I could get it from a government that hasn't even been created yet. I had a great experience. I went, the Prime Minister of Estonia came to Draper University and said, just by instituting digital signatures, we saved 2% of our GDP. And then we used digital voting, and all the young people started to vote. And then we used digital identity, and the crime rate went down and the business climate went up. And then he said, and now I'm going to make you the third virtual resident of Estonia. So he gives me a card, and he says, you are now the third virtual resident of Estonia. And I said, well, what can I do? And he said, well, you can set up a bank account, you can buy real estate anywhere in the EU, and you don't have to set foot in Estonia. And it got me thinking, wow, governments are going to have to compete for that virtual part of governance. And now they have an amazing tool to do it. Think about this. We now have Bitcoin, which is truly remarkable. It's not tied to any government source. It's untethered. I can take down my Bitcoin in any place, anywhere around the world. And so it has decentralized people so that they are not really tied to one place or another. Now, the Chinese government said, no Bitcoin, it's illegal. And as a response, the Japanese government said, Bitcoin is now a national currency for Japan. So what happens? All those Bitcoin entrepreneurs, all of that brilliance and brains from China is going to go and flow out of China, and they're going to go to places like Japan. In fact, Binance created $1 billion company in China, and then the Chinese government made what they do illegal, and so they moved. They moved to Singapore. And the Singapore government started to add more and more regulations, so they moved to Malta. And this is an enormous business. I mean, it is a $10 billion business. And Malta, billions of dollars go through that exchange. So governments kind of have to wake up.